Are you ready to rise from the ashes? Let's soar together. Come over to our show, The Final Phoenix. Visit www.loraperry.com for additional resources and a library of episodes. The Final Phoenix, your companion in the journey of being and becoming. Now, here's your host, Lora Perry.
Hello and welcome to the Final Phoenix podcast. Robert and I are here to talk about shiny object syndrome. So I'm going to just go ahead and hand over the mic to Robert because he knows so much about this topic, and I'm going to give my input as well. And we're just going to have a conversation about what shiny object syndrome is, how it can hurt us, and whether we know we are being distracted with shiny object syndrome and what to do about it. So Robert, go ahead and get started.
Hi, everybody. I think that what she means to say is that I'm an expert at shiny object syndrome and having that symptoms. I don't think she means I know a lot about it. I think she means that I go for it. In fact, if I would spin you around, like you see my office where I'm at right now, you will see the results of shiny object syndrome. But we're not going to go there, okay? Because I'm recovering, and I think this is a super important topic. I like it a lot because I've spent and wasted a lot of money running after the next latest best thing. And it's not so much the money because I learned something from almost everything. And the bare minimum of what I learn when I do things like that is that I shouldn't have done it. So I always go away with something. But what money I can always make, my time, that's a whole different story. So this is super important for all of us because what we're trying to do in life, I think, is have a quality of life, which means that we have to be, we have to be, I don't know how to say it, but a Nazi about our time, where we spend it, how we spend it. I love the word spend because once you spend it, you don't get it back. Now you can work your time to where that frees up other things, sure. But I think the shiny object syndrome is something a lot of beginners, everybody falls for it. It doesn't matter, but beginners don't even know that term exists or what it is. They're just racing after trying to get ahead. They're going, and they don't know that what's happening is this shiny object syndrome. And like I said, I've been running after shiny objects, I think, before that was even a thing. I bet you we could trace it back 30 years and that word wasn't even existing. If it was, you look it up in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of me there. So I think that we should define it a little bit because it's kind of different for different people. And I think then we should dig into deep of, because sometimes you may think you're doing the shiny object syndrome and you might not be. And sometimes you might not even know you're doing it. So I think for the people who know they do it, they're on the road to recovery. Excuse me. But for the people who don't know they are on it, their time is just eroding and they're not getting things, and they may even give up before they should because it gets complex.
So maybe let's start with.
Let's define it.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and do you want me to define it, or do you just want to talk about
it? Yeah. I'd like you to define it from your point of view, and I'll define it from my point of view.
Okay. So I see. So for myself, like, luckily, I want to use the context that I want to put around this is when I was moving through one niche, through another niche, and kind of finding my voice and my life's work. I felt like that was really necessary. And I do teach people that that's like a progression of like us learning. And I felt like I was going through shiny object syndrome and like I just couldn't sit on anything long enough. But I was picking up like pieces of gold through every niche and every training and everything that I was sharing with the world that's kind of led me to where I'm at now. And so I like to bring that up because that was necessary for me. However, I have never been one to, maybe I have, but it's not a regular pattern for me to be one to jump on the shiny object syndrome like we are discussing here. I think I definitely see a lot of people jumping on it, and I feel like the reason why they are jumping after the shiny object syndrome, meaning by definition, they are looking for the new quick get rich, they are looking for the new system that works, they are looking for the new method that works, they're looking for the new this, the that, because of whatever reason. I don't know if it's like they want instant gratification, they want to become rich overnight. But I definitely see people get really excited about things, and then the excitement is just gone, and then they're on to something else. So it's like a newness addiction, but it's like a high that they're on for, 3 weeks or something, and then it dissipates, and then they're on to something else, buying something else, um, learning something else, which, can be addiction, but it's always, we're all on our own individual paths. So that's what I see. I feel like there's a differentiation between being on your path of evolution and, being in alignment and following those breadcrumbs versus picking up little breadcrumbs, wasting your time and wasting your money. So does that sound like I defined it properly in my
Yeah,
ball?
I think
Okay, my
that,
ball.
yeah, that's normally, as everybody will probably start to notice, that both me and you have sort of the same viewpoint, but it often comes from different angles, and we meet in this, sometimes, most of the time, on good days. So for me, what a shiny object syndrome is simply a tendency to become really super easily distracted by new and exciting opportunities. But here's the kicker: often at the expense of completing important tasks. And this is where I figured out what I was doing. And so here's a short story. I got all excited about something in the martial art business world, and I'm looking at working with adults. I'm doing all this, and Laura listened to me for a few minutes, and she goes, "Wow, you haven't even finished your other program that you started, and this is going to take a lot of time, and it's not you're not even done with what you were doing. Do you even have that kind of time?" Now, she said it a little bit less nice as that, but it kind of, honestly, it kind of pissed me off a little bit, because I felt like somebody was raining on my opportunity. And then as I got halfway to work, I realized, oh my God, if I started this, it's literally like changing directions on a highway with no exits. It would be very difficult. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad I had that voice of reason. But the thing is like it masks itself as opportunity, exciting opportunities. So what marketers do, and this is just normal, I think we all have a tendency to do this, is we take something that can be very complex and we chunk it down to 3 easy steps. This is super easy. All you have to do is this, and this. And then people buy into that, and it's usually solving a problem that they're having right now in their daily life, business, whatever it is. But what they don't notice until they've done it for a while, they don't notice is those three things, excuse me, those three things are actually 60 or 70 things that you have to get in order. Maybe they chunk down to three, but there's like number one, great, that sounds great. I got to get new leads. Awesome. Oh, I got to learn TikTok. I don't even do TikTok. Oh, I need a CRM. Oh, and all of a sudden, follow this for a second. All of a sudden, you're doing your CRM. You're still excited though, because this guy said that you can make $1 million or whatever. He has the answer to your solution. So now you're in the CRM process. I'm using that as an example. And all of a sudden, you're on Facebook, and this somehow Facebook knows what you're looking for. Here comes this another ad. Are you tired of setting up your CRM? Are you frustrated with no leads? Well, this system is a system that works even twice as good, and you'll never have to open up a CRM again. And you're like, wow, that's awesome. Now you're after that, because that's an opportunity. It sounds great. So now you're learning Google My Business pages. And then you're going to get stuck there. But guess what? Facebook knows this. So here comes another ad on something else. And it just keeps going like that. And then you wake up one day and you're like, I don't have anything done. I've lost track. I don't even know if I can do this. And then you start blaming yourself. So this shiny object syndrome is subtle, but you got to get this down. You got to figure
Yeah.
out what it is.
Well,
So that's my take.
yeah, and what a couple things came to mind, and the first thing is that people don't realize how much depth of work goes into a good product or a good program or something that is worth creating. Like, yeah, sometimes we get lucky with, doing very little work, and we put together something that is just phenomenal, but that doesn't happen all the time. Um, so some of the students that I've worked with, they just don't realize that not only are they they're in a habitual pattern of putting like 1 week's worth of work into any project and then they're done, right? And then they abandon it and then they're negligent as to what they're working on and they jump onto something else without really learning the amount of work and fun, honestly, and creativity and the depth of what our creativity and our energy goes into the things that we create. So that's one of the things I love to teach people is, let's stay on the ride long enough so that you could bring something into form instead of jumping off, right after the idea phase and you're in the scrambling phase. And then you get into the write a couple notes about it phase. And then people tend to be on something else or, they're just not very consistent about the new thing that they jumped onto and the newness fades. And um, so I kind of just want to ask, why do you think that people experience this or why do you experience it? What can you see in your pattern or your life that says this is why this happens? Or do you have an awareness or a
I
reflection that
have
you can
an
share on
awareness,
that?
for me, but it sometimes we're going to talk about this too, but sometimes it's not shiny object syndrome. Sometimes you need an answer to a problem and you need a solution. And that's kind of a different feeling than this is. So how I know I'm hitting it is because it makes it's kind of packaged like a Christmas present. It's a new opportunity. It's new. It's fun. I love opportunities. Some people really like starting new things, and this is the type of person they are. I was looking at this years ago, something, and they were talking about who you hire and your team and how important your team is, and all the same stuff we know. And it said, so what do you, and one of the questions was, where do you like to be in a project? Do you like to be in the exciting beginning part? Do you like to be in the middle where things are cooking and you're just coming in and doing your tasks and getting things accomplished? Or do you like it when it's over, when you can hit the button and finally finish something? And they had some questionnaires for this, so they didn't do it the way I'm doing it. But what I did was I'm a starter. That's what it turned out to be. 80% of the things I do, 90%, Laura's shaking her head, going, no, 99%, or me starting things and not finishing them. That can get a little bit, if you don't know that about yourself, that can be a little bit discouraging. But for me, I actually enjoy it to a point. So the point was that, okay, you're a starter. That's great. You run a business, and actually you're in the right place for that. They said when you're hiring somebody, you need to find somebody that is a finisher. That makes a good, like Laura's a finisher. So that makes a good team. Okay. So, and then of course you need somebody to be in the middle, but we can often go back and forth. So for me, when you say that, there's a couple of different aspects, but what happens for me, since I'm a starter and since I love opportunity and I like bettering things, and I feel like I can help people that way better, is I'll have a tendency when somebody talks to me about the new, latest, greatest, whatever, I go right toward that because that's in my DNA. That's in my mind. It's just who I am. And if I don't monitor that and don't look at all the other projects I have up and running, that I'm just, I mean, I guess you can't see it, but if you, Laura, flip her camera over to the left, you'll see over 1,500 books, of which I've read about maybe 10% of those books. Now, I've touched them all, though. Does that count? And I still love them. And at one point, you might say, you're just buying another book. But yeah, some of the books are important because I get 2 or 3 pages and that's all I needed. But still, it's the same thing. I'm like, wow, okay, so I'm a little off topic, but it's the same thing. I can't find it, but I have a book here that came in the mail. We were in the car, we got it, and we opened it up. And Laura goes, oh, you got a new book. I looked at that. I said, yeah, I have no idea why I ordered that book. I thumbed through it, and it is nowhere where I'm at in my life. It's not even geared toward business owners. It's geared for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and having a job. And I thumbed through it earlier this morning, and there's nothing in that book that I want or that I haven't learned. And I'm like, it's a $22 book. I'm like, why did I buy this? What was going on that I thought? And I still don't know. Okay. So, but what I'm thinking is somebody probably reviewed it and said, this author is great. He makes it so simple to get your act together. And they just said some words that touched my area of wanting to solve a problem for something or for somebody. And I thought that would be, see, I usually buy things that are resources. I said that would be a great resource. Luckily, I haven't, it wasn't a course. I put no time into it. All I did was thumb through it. So for me, you asked, the question I think you asked me was, I think, did you say, why do I do it? Or what was the exact question? I don't
Um,
miss.
I think the question was, yeah, why does it happen? Like, why is it the chase? Like, are you
Yeah. So,
chasing something? I know that you're saying that it's a starter thing, and I'm going to comment on that in a minute, but why are you, I know that you can, what we tend to learn about ourselves or what someone says about us, we tend to believe. And I know that funny enough, I'm gonna oppose your statement there because you finish a ton of things. So you're not a starter. Maybe you are in some ways, but you're also a finisher in some ways. So I don't think that it's fair for you to, claim that you're just a starter. I've seen you begin in the
okay.
beginning, the middle,
So
and the ending
hold
stage
on.
of
This
every.
is important to understand. That's not quite what I meant. I
Okay.
have more enjoyment inside myself when I start something new than I do when I finish it. Laura is a finisher. She'll write things on her to-do list that she did that wasn't on her to-do list to finish it. That that doesn't excite me when I.
Okay.
Okay, so when I'm saying I'm a starter, I'm not saying I don't finish things, and I'm not. It's not a bad thing. It's just how I made up. I would prefer. The question was, if you're hiring somebody, and they said, "Where do you want to be in project management? Do you want to be starting new things? Do you want to be in the middle, or do you want to be in the end?" I will pick 100% of the time. I want to be in the start of it. That's my most exciting things.
Okay.
And I do know all that other stuff has to happen, and I do that. But you ask me why you think that happens. It's because it's exciting for us. It's just super exciting to learn and get new things until reality sets in. And as soon as reality sets in, and you see how much work there is to be done, and how much, then it becomes kind of a horrible thing. So you have to monitor that. So I'm talking more about where my excitement lies, not whether I can or can't. It's just that if you ask me right now, do you want to go out and start, just say start anything, and I'll be a lot more excited than if I want to finish cleaning the garage.
Well, that's
Or okay,
yeah,
exactly. Okay,
it's
good.
it's really
I want
it's
to make
really
sure we explain that.
yeah, it's really interesting because I have an excitement too, and it's about starting things. Usually there's not a lot of excitement in the middle there, but about when it comes to finishing things, I'm really excited to just get things done and see how they perform in the world. So not to get too much, I don't want to dive too much into the where excitement is because sometimes we're doing things out of excitement, sometimes we're doing things out of anxiety. So I don't really want to look too much into excitement. But I think you did answer my question with that statement. You said it's just really exciting. It's more exciting for you in the beginning stages than it is for you at the middle or the end, and that's good. And my thing when I come to teach, soulpreneurs and course creators and business owners is to carry that excitement through from start to finish because I have a fundamental belief that we can all finish things. We can all be excited about the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I don't know if there's a choice there when it comes to what to be excited about.
Yeah, I think there's a choice. We had a conversation a little while ago about something similar to this, and I can't remember really what it was, but I was on the boredom. I was like, okay, enough, and we talked about it. I think it was when we were redoing our intro lessons, and you chunked it down to like three different projects or something. And I can't. You'll probably remember better than me, but it was like, okay, you said you got that part done, let's move on. Tomorrow, we wrote it on the board. Tomorrow, we will do this. And when we did that, I was just as excited. That project was awesome. It was something that I did from start to finish, and it worked until we changed our business model, but it was awesome. And I was excited from the very beginning all the way through the project. But I also had you there saying things like, that part's completed. Let's start. There's that magic word. Let's start the next section, and you would write it on the board, and we would do it tomorrow. I was so excited about the next day. And some days, I had to go into work and I couldn't do it. And I was like, oh, and I did not get distracted on that project one bit. I didn't jump ship. I didn't listen to anybody else. We cooked through that. It's like a super proud moment of mine because I did everything. It turned out to be a super great product. But what happened was that there was those little pieces, right? And so if you're looking at what do you do if you do that, well, everything can be broken down. Everything can be broken down to more than just one thing. So you have to just realize that, and then you take that excitement and you take that right into the next project. Okay, so I mean, you remember the 2 lesson intro and all that stuff we were doing, and we wrote that on that board that was in our kitchen. And you would cross off, okay, this section's complete. We get to start this next section tomorrow. And man, did we cook through that? So yeah, it's totally possible, but you have to like that's not something I did consciously. That's something that you helped me do. So we have to like recognize that what we're doing, us shiny object people, we have to recognize is that we're probably going to lose a lot of focus. We're going to lose a lot of concentration, and we're going to fragment our attention and everything. And that's what we're actually trying not to do. This is the funny part, right? So understand this. We're absolutely trying not to do what the shiny object syndrome makes us do, which is to lose our focus and to get fragmented and to do 10,000 things, never get anything completed. We're actually causing that by doing that. So once you start to recognize that, you can listen to it, you can do it, you can say, okay, maybe tomorrow. So
Yeah, and so I want to kind of move into giving people some solutions here because people struggle with it. So one thing that I know for sure is that we all have the capacity to start something and finish something. My biggest tip that you just helped me remember was that I look at every day as a new day, and I look at every step of a project as a brand new project. And that allows me to put my excitement into it every single day instead of losing the excitement. That also assists me with infusing it with new ideas and new thoughts and new, positive energy instead of looking at like, oh, the same old thing. I am I am prompted in order to keep it exciting, I am prompted to look at it in a new way every moment or every day. So the longer projects that I have, I am excited to start them, but I'm also really excited to, take a day before I'll use the 10-day TikTok challenge, for example. I was really excited to start that. I sat down, I recorded 4 or 5 videos. By the sixth video, I was losing momentum, but I just took a day and said, what is it that I want in this sixth video? And then the seventh video, I took 2 days and I just kind of let my thoughts formulate around it until I found that excitement again. Because what that was an indication from my guidance and my inner teacher of, oh, this should be in here. This is really important. And I was almost kind of told to wait. So I feel like people that are constantly on the shiny object syndrome, um they're just jumping ship because they're kind of chasing a feeling, and I get that, but it can be maintained and experienced when we're in alignment, and that alignment is listening to those cues from ourselves and staying true to what we're creating. And I do feel like some of the training for that is hand holding, is a group, is a like group coaching or a group class, or when the 10-day TikTok challenge goes live, for everybody to do it together, because we'll have that energetic support to carry through. And I've seen the outcomes of such support, like in the Soulpreneurs, the Prosperity Intensive, where we gathered for 90 days. I don't think any of us would have finished any of that had we not got together and did that all at the same time. So I feel like there's an energetic support and hand holding for us to learn how to complete something. And the last thing I'll say about this is I have a vision of individuals receiving an idea and it only getting so far in their chakra system. So they'll allow that excitement in their heart center, and then they kind of abandon it because they've worked the energy from from the top three chakras, and they just haven't brought it into form. Now, that's not to say that some of us aren't finishers that can bring things into fruition, but until you know your energy system completely and you've exercised it in order to do that, we haven't mastered our purpose here in this 3D kind of physical, bring an idea out into creation type thing. So that's my perspective, is that we all have the ability. Sometimes it definitely takes training. It takes consistent concentration and focus and reestablishing our energy system so that we can serve our society and humanity in a way that is beneficial to us and everyone else. So do you hear anything in that, Robert, that you can comment on? Or
I think we started saying giving them kind of a solution to help. Is that what this was?
yeah, and that's from my experience, that's what I see is people need the training, people need the consistency, people need the hand holding
I
in
think
order to finish things.
I always think that you should have an accountability partner or have something. But what when I recognized um, that I had a problem, I guess that I recognized that I was starting to get down on myself. When starting something new is always fun for me, but when it started not becoming fun because I knew I wasn't going to finish it, that started to outweigh the fun of starting. Not finishing something was actually like, I'm going another thing, like yet, and it's like another diet. Oh my God, I've been dieting for 40 years, but which I really haven't been, but you know what I'm saying. So one thing that I did that helped me out a lot, and I think you might remember this because actually it's kind of funny because it's a good story because I had to jump ship. I had to actually quit what I was doing. But my fix, and I'll tell you why, my fix was to start something and finish it because I started lacking some confidence in myself. I started thinking that maybe this is just the way I was. I just, it was subtle. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and had no self-worth or anything. It wasn't psychological. It was just like, this is my pattern. I'm going to, like, I'm just going to drink this milkshake. Or it was just like, well, that's who I am. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that people can change. So when my mind went there, I immediately said, this has to be fixed because now I'm not even going to start anything because I'm afraid I'm going to quit. And I'm like, okay, nothing's fun anymore. So what I did was I started doing little things through completion. Like right now, the TikTok challenge. Okay, so I think she's almost done with that, even though she's letting people in now. I will start that and I will finish it. Okay, and I'm not doubting that. I'm not worried about that. If this was when go back in time and this is a little while ago, I would like, well, why am I even going to start this? I'm just going to get excited about something and then not finish it, and there's that going on in the head. So I took and started things. I started really easy, things that I knew I could complete. And the enjoyment changed from starting to kind of getting it done. And I started feeling better about myself. And then my story that I indicated a little bit earlier is this is where shiny object syndrome can cost you money. I paid quite a lot of money to do a course, and it was a business course that I thought it would really align. It worked. It sounded like it worked. And I was already trained myself, so I'm going to complete this. And so basically, this individual took in the middle of this business course, and this is just one example, 20 minutes to go through because he talked really slow and stuff, but he took 20 minutes to talk about a story about a dog on a nail. And so, I mean, here's the story. This guy walks up and there's a dog sleeping on this old rusty nail. And he asks the farmer, why is that dog on the nail, basically? And the farmer goes, well, until it hurts enough, he ain't going to move. And the moral of the story is that we all have that nail and we'll all sit there until it hurts enough and then we'll make change. But this was ongoing for about, I don't know, Laura, what was it? 2 months I was doing that thing, and I was really doing it. And it was hard. I mean, she'd see me. I'd have to get myself up. That was the straw that I decided that I'm saying, I don't care about finishing anything. But it was a shiny object. I jumped in there, but I had trained myself to finish. So it was really hard for me to stop. But after that one, I was going, I don't really care. 20 minutes, it was the dog that broke the straw's back, I guess, because I was like, done. And I haven't been able to go back. And like I said, his product isn't all that bad, but I probably should have done that. Well, I needed to do it because I had to learn something. But the point is that that's when I learned that sometimes stopping something in the middle has nothing to do with shiny object syndrome. It has something to do with it ain't working for you. Move on. And other times, see, I guess what I'm saying is I stopped that, but I didn't stop it because there was 5 other things coming at me. This is the important part. I stopped it because it didn't resonate with me. And that's what Laura says. She goes, it doesn't seem to be working for you. You've been really going hard at this. Maybe it's just time to move on. And that kind of gave me the permission to kind of move on because I had trained myself to finish things. Now, if I was jumping over something else and trying to get something else and something was better, she wouldn't have given me that advice. So I think the practical advice and what we're talking about is if we can see these things in ourselves, that's easy. That's great. We can do something about it. But we necessarily can't see that because we just don't know we're having it. But other people can see it quite quickly. And we won't get into any of the stories or something, but I know that Laura could point out 5 things, 5 shiny objects that I went to just this week. And some of them I just do because I want to feel it, right? Like buying that book. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are things but I'm better at it. Okay. And yet we can, other people can help us through that. And then you have to also determine whether, and this took me a while, and that story kind of helped me understand this. There's a problem. If you have a problem that needs to be fixed, you need to find somebody to fix it. So the example of that is we have an old truck. It's having an overheating problem. I've done my best to fix this. Okay. I'm not qualified. I don't, this isn't me running after a shiny object. This is me finding a mechanic that can do their job and fix it. Okay. That's the difference is, are you stuck because you don't know what to do next and you need help? Or are you going fine, but you're going to jump over here because it's more exciting? That water over there might be warmer. That's a deeper pool. That's the question you have to ask yourself. And I'm actually pretty good at that now. So when she says I'm a finisher now and stuff, it's because my process goes through that. If I see I got 5 other things to do and I just call it jumping ship. I'm jumping ship because those are more exciting. And it's not because it's solving a real problem. That's when I do the self-reflecting. That's when I start thinking, what's going on? So I know that that's what I do, but what do you do, Laura? Because we all do this. So what's your strategy to know whether you're just running after that newest, coolest thing, or do you actually have a problem, like you need to learn, like if it's a TikTok thing, you need to know how to hook your TikTok, I'm just making this up now, TikTok channel to your phone, and you don't know how, you have to get help. That's not running after a shiny object. That's moving on. But how do you know the difference?
Well, I want to kind of tell a story about when I do think I was going through a version of this. And that's when I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil with shadow work and spiritual evolution and like spiritual awakening. And I would buy books to try to make me feel better. I would buy book after book after book, and I would flip through them, and I would read something that just dissolve the anxiety that I was going through momentarily, and then it would start back up. And there was one day that I was in the car. I remember I had had dinner with my mom that night, and I sat in the car, and I had 4 packages, and they were all books that I had ordered from Amazon. And I opened them one at a time, and I flipped through each book. And the last one, I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like it dawned on me that what I'm looking for is not in a book, because I was looking for a piece of myself that I had not yet met or found. And the only way that I was going to meet that version of myself was to get to know her and learn about her and dive deeper into me, which was very scary because I didn't know how to do that. There's not a how-to manual on that. And at that point, I stopped and I just decided to look in other places. They do say that I've heard so many quotes about how they hide the spark of God where we don't look, and that's within, right? So that is a version of something that I did because I kept looking outside of myself for something that was within me. And I think that that's part of what we're doing when we're doing the shiny object syndrome. the other thing, the other side of that is that marketers absolutely love to target people who fall for shiny object syndrome.
Yeah,
That's
they do.
why,
They're good at it too.
yeah, they teach you in marketing 101, come out with the new thing. Everybody wants novelty and they want you to do, they want you to click on an item and they want you to opt into it and they want you to get the emails and all that. And that makes sense. But what they end up with, and I've seen this problem over and over and over again, is they end up with thousands of people in a course and they never do the course. So they'll even sell the course to the people. The people are clicking on it, they're buying it, they're in there, and they never do the course. They never finish it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how are we actually serving people as marketers when all we're doing is cashing in on somebody's shiny object syndrome? But marketers teach that. I don't, but I do understand getting somebody's attention, but I don't want to, personally, I don't want to feed on something like that. So what I do instead is I do something called, I don't know that I have a name for it, but I'll call it, I wait for a feeling of resonance and alignment. So instead of going after the spark, I just keep an eye on it and it either fizzes out or it feels aligned. So some people that I learn from, some of my teachers, I immediately feel that resonance and that connection with them. I'm like, yes, there's something that I need to learn here. So I'll go and I'll buy their course and I'll do it. I don't buy anything unless I feel that. Other times I just follow it. I'm like, does this person, there's people that I've followed for years, recently even, and then finally, decided to jump into their course and then found out, okay, like that didn't work out for me. I should have just kind of listened to myself in the beginning, but I learned so much still. So even though that resonance and alignment might feel a little off, there might be something that you're meant to learn there. But I think it's just the waiting game. For me, it's just like wait and feel it out because so many of us are latching in on that excitement or that fast solution or that new thing, and like we want that instantaneous result, but all of that is going to take time in order to accomplish. So I really respect the marketers out there that are very authentic, very wholesome, very, this is a journey, let's travel it, this is a process, let's do it. I really respect those marketers because they're real about what it takes to do things. And the work that it can take. I'm not saying that change cannot be instantaneous, because it can. But overall, we're looking for resonance and alignment and the things that we buy and the ideas that we jump onto. And that really, I have a whole process of how to decide if it's necessary or if it's a shiny object. Are you chasing another shiny idea? Um, but Robert, what do you think? What's your opinion on knowing the difference if something is like shiny or is it like a necessary step
I
or
think
if something necessary or
I,
aligned?
I think a lot of times if I can look back to it, you could do some self-reflecting and you could see your own patterns. If you took 15, 20 minutes with yourself and just get your journal out and start writing down. Do you remember when you spent $5,000 on that course? Why did you pick that one? If you don't get depressed about it, you'll see your own pattern really quickly, and then you can start doing something about it. So the whole shiny object syndrome is when you're getting off on that is you've got to realize that you're almost avoiding something. It's almost taking you away from what you need to do and giving you this, it's better over here. And I had one. I don't want to really say he's a marketer because he's not. He's actually a coach, like a coach, a physical fitness type guy. But he also has to market his products. And he said, when you're selling fitness, he was telling me, you don't show the pictures of the guys on the mat laying down, throwing up, all that hard work, because nobody would buy that. You show the before picture and you show the after picture. And part of that is human nature, and we have to kind of do that. But when he explained that to me, what happened to me was when I see another shiny object, I say, okay, this is where I'm at. He's talking about where I want to go. Well, what about this stuff in the middle? I start saying, let's look at that. What do I have to do? What's the work involved here? Show me the people on the mat doing 1,000 push-ups and not being able to walk or push their hands up the next day. I need to know that to make a decision. Okay, so that's one thing that I do right off. If you're jumping from the beginning to the end or to the solution, and you're not even considering what's the path to there, what that path is, you got problems. Okay, that's going to be the indication, because what you're hoping to do is you're trying to buy the middle. You're trying to get to that result, and that result is not going to work that way. You can't buy the result. You have to earn the result. So when he talked about the fitness, you have to do the dieting, you have to do the exercises, you have to show up to the gym, then you get to be that after pitcher. And there's no shortcut for that. Okay. So, yeah, I know there's surgery, but that's not what we're talking about. So, I guess for me, I started looking at myself, it just became analytical. I just said, okay, that's the result I want. I want X amount. That's awesome. I want 75 leads in my email box every morning. Well, okay, that's good. That's what he's selling. So now let's look at what my responsibility, and that's the word I would use. What's my responsibility? My responsibility is to do all the work to get there, and that shiny objects ain't so shiny anymore. All of a sudden I'm going, and then I start searching it. I have another thing that I do is it's ROI, return on investment. Okay, I understand that solution and I want the solution, but I also want a return on my investment. So if I buy something, even free, if I do something for free, that's a time investment. I ask myself, am I going to get a return on this? So if I have to get if I have to learn video editing, because I have videos I need to edit, and right now they're taking me 3 hours a week to edit. And the solution is this new shiny object. If I go through and do my due diligence and I find out that it's going to take me 5 hours to do it, but it's going to save me 2 hours a week, that's a decision that could be right, could be wrong, but it's a decision I can make or I can ask. I could say things like, hey, Laura, what do you think about this? And she has all the information and she goes, well, yeah, sounds like a good thing. But if I skip that whole analyzing and looking at it, and sometimes there's gut feelings to that, but sometimes there's not. If I skip that, I spend a lot of money and I waste a lot of money and I get frustrated with myself. And we don't want to do that. So if the shiny object is pulling you from what you're doing right now, and it's not going to have a return on your investment, and it's a solution, but it's not necessarily where you want to go. It's where you want to go, but it's not in line with what you're doing. Okay, so we were talking about that, and it was one of the social media things, and it just wasn't in line with where Lora wanted to go with her thing. It sounded good. She was getting people telling her that. The course sounded good. I can't remember what it was, but I looked at it. Great sales letter and everything. But Lora goes, but that's not what I'm doing right now. It's not going to help me get to where I'm going to go. So it was just a cool discussion that we had, and we moved on. Okay, we got our little shiny object fix, but we also realized that, wow, now I'm going to become a video photographer, editor of YouTube videos or something like that. And that's not even what I'm doing. So I think that's pretty powerful and pretty important for people to do, is to, and you kind of say that naturally because you do that, but a lot of us don't do the self-reflection. We're just going for that end result. We see the before picture. That's me. I'm 30 pounds overweight. You see the after picture. Oh my gosh, they took vitamin D and now they're there. I'll take vitamin D. And then we buy the vitamin D. And don't ask me where I got vitamin D. That's not a weight loss thing. But that was my old me. That's what it was. And I think a lot of people could identify with that.
Yeah, and you said a few things that that absolutely, like asking yourself, is this in alignment with my big picture goal? Is this something like, if I were to have a desired outcome from doing this, what would that be? That's one of the questions I ask myself when I kind of get an idea. And I'm like, and how does it fit into the picture, the puzzle of what I'm creating? And if it's not in there, sometimes I'll write it down and I'll just say, it's a potential. It's a potential idea that I may or may not utilize in the future. But there are, I was talking to a student and I said, one of the curses and blessings of being an entrepreneur is all the ideas that we have, all the shiny objects that we see. But there's no way that we could actually jump in on every idea or, grab everything that we want to learn. So one of the tips that I got was to just picture a parking lot, and just put your ideas in a parking lot, put these shiny object thoughts in a
Yeah,
parking lot.
that's good.
Yeah, and like they're there, you're not abandoning them. You can always look at them and decide whether or not to go back, but really,
Car lot.
yeah, like your
There's the
car wash.
trucks.
Yeah.
There's the sedans.
Yeah,
You do.
Robert has 10 new
Oh
ideas a
yeah.
day and
Oh,
I'm
oh
like,
God, yeah.
okay,
And,
but
and I do worry about forgetting about them. And Laura goes, "Well, write them down." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's so brilliant." But you said something there that I think that I want to just it's irony, right? We're all designing products and working on things, whether they're a brick and mortar business or whether it's an online business, coaching, whatever, right? We all do that. Guess what? We are a shiny object to somebody, and we have to accept that. And that's why you need to know who you're serving, because you've got to know. Sometimes you've got to say, yeah, we're not the right fit for you. That you can't go into fixing them and saying you're just after shiny objects, but you'll be able to tell after a while. But yes, we are also shiny objects. Okay, we're trying to get people a solution, and we believe in our product, and we're going to do everything we can to do that. And that is good. So don't get upset at marketers, or don't get upset. This is all us inside, guys. This is how we process information, how we learn to get our stuff out there. So it's not, I don't want to say anybody to think that marketers are evil or anything like that, because we have shiny objects too.
yeah,
Or
and I
we are.
do, yeah, and I just want to go back to, what I would rather not be a shiny object to somebody. I would rather be an aligned resonance to someone. So I just want to say that. But I do want to finish what I was thinking was we're not what I was saying kind of before is that we're not seeing all the work that's involved in bringing an idea into fruition. And if everybody in the world just took action on the first 10 steps of bringing an idea into creation, we wouldn't have anything out there, So it is important to look at the work that's involved, think it through before you jump on the boat. And then,
And you also have to be okay with not being an expert at everything that you have to do to get it out there. That's another little indication that you're running after shiny objects, is when we talked about this the other day. Try to be a perfectionist. Start, 80% is good enough, right? So that's another thing that can get you distracted to shiny objects. You got a thing that you're doing and it's good, but it's not what you think is perfect. So you're going to go grab this shiny object to try to package it and make it more perfect, and then the stuff over here, you're not going to be all that good at either. So you're going to find another shiny object to help you get good at this. That used to be
yeah.
me. I would like, oh, I can do this. Oh, YouTube, great. Now I got to learn this over here, how to do YouTube. Oh, before I learn this though, I got to learn this that helps here. So yeah,
Yeah. And
I think
and I,
it's important.
yeah. And I think we had decided, I know we're getting short on time here, but I think
Yeah,
we
we
had
are.
decided, yeah, I think we had decided previously that your jumps to perfection was to avoid the criticism that you could potentially get to, right? So that was
Yeah,
you trying to protect yourself by
yeah,
jumping on all the shiny object boats and then just to avoid something that it didn't really matter to you anyway, right? Like,
yeah. It's
yeah.
it's
So
it's pretty good. But so we gotta wrap this up. So what's the real problem with shiny object syndrome if we're using it as a negative? Okay, what two or three things, Laura, that you think why should I stop rushing over shiny objects?
because we have a path that we are. I like to tell people that you're not really on a path, you are the path. So the fact that we think that we are on a path leads people to believe that they're not creating their life as they go, that they are, innocent bystanders in the creation of their life. But each of us, we are our path. And when we are jumping to everything around us in a shiny object response kind of way, we do constantly jump off our path. However, that's not to say that we can't bring a few of those things in to assist us, but we have to internalize that and make sure by checking in with ourselves if it is something that we want to add to our life in order to assist us with the path that we're creating, because you are the path, you are the journey. Each of us is that journey. So what I do notice, it's something that you said earlier too, is that the shiny object syndrome is it's keeping everybody on a linear playing field, and the playing field in this reality is that of depth. It's a vertical. Robert and I created a publishing company called Vertical Path Publishing because the path of expansion and the soulpreneur journey and conscious entrepreneurs and just knowing ourselves as human beings having a or spirits having a human experience is that vertical path. And so we're constantly avoiding that and bypassing parts of ourselves by staying on a shallow surface when we're jumping from one thing to the other to the other. That said, eventually you get tired of jumping and we're repeatedly faced with ourselves again. It's like, oh, that was a nice little detour. Let me just come back to myself and see what I learned, right? And then the other thing that I'll say, and then Robert, I'll kind of let you do
I'm
your
just
opinion
thinking
here.
before you put another subject in there, I just dawned on me. I don't know, make sure I'm hearing this right because I just heard something that actually makes a lot of sense to me. Paths, okay? Shiny objects are kind of, in a way, they're a different path. They're their own path. And if we're switching them out, so there's a difference between tools and things like I'm on my path and I need a new tire to get there. That's a tool. That's something I need. Now I have to find it. I don't need to go to another path to start doing something different. That's how you can differentiate. Are you getting the tool that's solving a problem? Like, are you getting the tire? Are you going to school learning how to design tires? Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit? Because I had a vision when you said that, me kind of walking down the path, chopping things away, and all of a sudden coming up to a roadblock, and then jumping over to this path that's nice and shiny, but it's going the whole different direction. And I was like going, oh, wow, I needed something to clear these weeds, but I'm on a whole different path now. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah,
Is that
you are. And
okay?
that's like everything that everybody offers is a tool. That was a really good way to put it. Like everything that we can learn from other people is a tool. And one of the things that we call that in the uh metaphysical, esoteric, maybe even spiritual, formless world is a permission slip. It's like, oh, we get to add something to our tool belt in order to learn, and sometimes those are necessary, but they are not our path. And some people are just thinking that those things are your path, but you are your path. You are able to utilize tools outside of you, even if it's a part of someone else's path or creation, to assist you with carving your path. But each of us is our path. And that's why I was going to say, too, is that we feel like the grass is greener on the other side. So we're like, oh, like they say, water your lawn. That's what I'm going to encourage everybody to do. Look at what's right in front of you. What do you have right in front of you? Because you have everything that you need. You don't need anything outside of you. And if there is something that you're meant to learn, it will feel aligned and it will resonate. Whether or not there is a shiny object, beautiful marketing message along with that or not is a different question. And it honestly doesn't matter, because when you resonate with someone and you feel aligned with them, that is most important. And you know that that person can help you care for your garden, and that you can learn something from that person in order to, learn how to change your own tire or whatnot. But when we're constantly thinking that other people's paths are our path, that's where we are all over the place. Our energy's fractured, our concentration's fractured. We're not even becoming who we are meant to be, and we're not serving people in the way that we can. And we are probably eventually going to get frustrated and feel defeated and deflated from being on that exhausting mission of not being us.
Yeah. Okay. That was good. I just that vision. I started saying, because I can go back and think about everything I've done that's gotten me off my path, and it cost me so much time and so much money. But it's always, you're right, it's always a different path that I'm choosing to walk. And sometimes you have to do that. But if you do that because it aligns, it takes off and you're like going, why was I over there? This is so much better. But when you're, yeah, good. Okay, that was the first one. What was your second thing you were going to say? Because I kind of
Oh, that
interrupted.
no, that was it. That was it. Just we think the grass is greener. And I love that you said, I really love that you said that other people's everything that you see outside of you is just a potential tool, right?
Yeah.
Like everything, it doesn't mean that it's our path. Like it might be a step along our journey if it feels aligned, but and honestly, I've worked with coaches that didn't feel aligned, and it was a step on my journey, and I kind of felt pulled to learn that. So that's just where it comes down to listening to ourselves and honestly giving ourselves the time to even respond. Ask yourself, is this a good
You know,
direction for me? And
I'm going.
yourself will answer you.
I'm going to because this is the way I am. I like I like checklists, I like blueprints, I like things that help me get to the next level. Laura's gonna love this. I think, since I got you right here, I think that Laura should write out, because she's so good at this, whether she knows it or not, maybe 5 or 6 questions that you could ask yourself for the shiny object thing. And I think you could do it really quick because you just said one right there that I just learned. If I would ask myself, does this further my goal that I'm doing right now, or is it going to distract me? And maybe how is this going to further my goal? Okay, so I think, because I think what we're really talking about, maybe, of course, we come to this all toward the end of it, is that we're not very detailed. We're not asking ourselves the right questions when we're in this area of give me that new shiny object. We're not asking the proper questions. Like, yeah, I want those 70 leads in my thing, but the question might be is how is this new process going to do that in such a way that it's aligned with my beliefs, and my product and my service? Because if it's not aligned with that, you might do it, but you're not going to get the results. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Laura, but I think that would, you could put it on, here's a new shiny, see, I'm doing it right now. This is horrible. I'm
No,
putting it on somebody else. Oh
no,
my
but it's not.
gosh.
But remember,
That's funny.
it, here's the thing. No matter how marketers market in the world, it's our responsibility to ask ourselves that question. Does this align with me? Is this something that will help me grow? And again, if you ask that question and just wait it out, you'll feel that pull
Yeah, but
towards
you
a
have to
person.
ask it. This is
Yeah.
my point. And you have to know that. So I always go back to my past. I didn't even know I was doing it, and I didn't have the questions. I've learned this over, the last 3 to 4 years, is that you do have to have a few questions, like how's this going to help you, or is it going to distract you? But anyways, I'll leave it at that, because I guess I should just ask you, say, hey, I could really use those 4 or 5 questions, because we were joking about this topic this morning, and I listened to I already had 5 shiny objects. I didn't do it, but I had them right there this morning. So this is an ongoing battle for a lot of us, Laura. There's really
Yeah,
is.
I will do that. I'll put a link to a
Thank
download in this
you.
video because I do want to help and I do want to serve. And again, if it's something that aligns with you, you'll know because you'll download it. And if you get benefit out of it, then you'll know because it'll help you. And that's what I encourage everybody to do is to ask the question, feel the alignment and feel the resonance with anybody that you learn or work from. And that is the true measure of the tools that you can pick up along the way, because I just cannot stress enough that you know, we are not on a path. We are the path. Like we literally are carving our own path in this world and our own existence and our own experience. And every time someone jumps to the shiny object syndrome, you're just taking yourself off of it. And that's fine. You're removing yourself. You're thinking that someone else's solution is greener than the life that you have right in front of you and that they can do better than you. And they cannot. That's
Well, we
definitely
also we
true.
also have to ask ourselves one last question here for some of us. We have to ask ourselves if we are avoiding the work. Some of
That's
us have a tendency, I'm sorry, I have to pull this elephant that's in the room. Some of us avoid work like the plague, and I'm sorry, work has to get done. It can be enjoyable. I like the word work, but sometimes, it doesn't need to be done either. But you have to you have to ask yourself, am I avoiding doing the real work that I need to get done? Or am I trying to bypass that? So that's an ugly question, but I think you should ask it of yourself.
no, it is. And the other thing is that people don't tend a lot of us, me too. I didn't know what the work meant, right? Like I didn't know what it meant to put something out into the world and to share it with the world and to automate things and to create online courses. And like I didn't know what any of that work looked like until I started doing it myself. And I'm like, wow, it is way more than
Yeah.
I thought, but it's also a lot more fun than I thought. It's
30
not
day
like
yoga 30-day yoga program does not, it takes 30 days to complete. It does not take 30 days to create.
no.
That was one of both of me and you both learned so much. That was we'll have to talk about that sometime, because that we didn't get distracted. We got off course, not really that much, but we had to learn lighting, we had to learn sound. We actually had to do a lot. That's a great example of being on the path and finding tools that you need and moving through. That's actually pretty good, because we didn't get off track on that. So,
Yeah.
anyways, time to close it up. Any last parting
Yeah, yeah, no,
things?
absolutely. I'll create it. It's not created yet, but by the time this video goes out, I'll create just a PDF that you can download if this is something that you'd like to learn. Like, what are
Oh,
some
I
of those
vote for it. I
reflective
want it.
questions? Yeah, what are some of those reflective questions that you can ask yourself to decide whether an idea is worth pursuing or whether somebody's assistance is worth pursuing? But to finalize this, I just want to say that we can learn a lot from people outside of us. We can, I've had some amazing teachers. I've got some favorite books that have changed my life. But really it comes down to your inner teacher and that inner knowing and that inner guidance as to whether something is going to make your path easier for you to create or to carve out. And that is really at the end of the day, the question that I tell everybody to just ask yourself, sit with it, give it enough time. I have a really hard time with, especially marketers that are in the creative or the conscious business of getting people to think that there is no work to be done when it comes to building a business or when it comes to creating something, because there is. And just reflecting a little bit inside and looking up a little bit of information as to, if I were to create an online business, what does this work entail? If I were to just paint a painting or set up a booth at a farmer's market, what does this work entail, so that you have a little bit of an idea of what that means? Because the get rich quick things don't exist. The oftentimes the quick solutions, unless it's very easy like a video editor or
I
something,
think
is
I
not going
think
to
we should
exist.
let's differentiate real quick between somebody that markets stuff to make money and somebody that markets a product that they love and that they stand behind. So there are some people out there that have the ability to market anything. They could sell you a piece of paper and tell you it's an airplane. I mean, they're good at it, and they use a system, and they don't care whether, they don't even want you to open the course. They don't even care the quality of their course. They're so good at what they're doing. They don't want you to know the work. They'll hide from that. They won't want you to ever even do that, because they know they're proud. They say things like, yeah, 90% of the people don't even open the course, but they still pay me. And when I hear things like that, I wonder where this person has lost their soul a little bit. I would rather be a little bit more upfront and honest about my stuff and how much work it's going to take, and sign up people and sell people that actually want that solution, whether they do it or not. I can only do too much, rather than starting to get to that path where all of a sudden you're like using techniques, knowing that the person isn't going to finish, and not even caring, because the refund, you can afford the refunds and stuff. And that person will have 20 projects they're doing it, and that's just generating money. That's the type of person that can really utilize the shiny object syndrome and get you distracted. So that's,
Yeah.
I think, when we talk, there's two types of people there, right? I want people to understand that not everybody is the
Yes.
person that is doing that. Okay, some people are, some aren't. So what you said is actually pretty important there. I'd rather have the person realize that this is an 8-hour course. You're going to have to do 8 hours of work, You can do it anytime you want. You can do it in a day or a year, but it's 8 hours, opposed to the marketer that says, I make more money if I leave that out. This is when
Mhm.
your thought process starts to go like that, you've got to start being careful. If
Well,
I don't tell the whole truth, I make more money. Look at that formula there. It's like, oh,
yeah, and I've seen marketers do both, and I think it was, even me being in the marketing world and learning from marketers, I was like, gosh, am I doing the right thing? This is just taking so much time. I don't know if I'm on the right track, blah blah blah. It should be faster. And I heard some advice that really resonated with me. It was exactly what I needed to hear at the exact time. And it was a video that Jeff Bezos did. And he said, if I had some advice to give entrepreneurs right now, he said it is to be a missionary and not a mercenary. He said the mercenary is the one that's creating a business just to sell it. And he did, this isn't his words for words, but he said basically like the mercenary is that person that's just trying to make money, and they will say anything that they need to sell something. The mercenary doesn't care if you create the course. The mercenary doesn't care if you just buy it and then never log in again. But the missionary is the one that wants to guide you along a journey. Again, these are not his words. This is what I took from his words. The missionary will make sure that you're getting the impact. And the missionary is doing things a little bit slower, even though in the end it takes more time. The missionary always makes more money than the mercenary at the end of the day. And when I thought about that, I was like,
that's
good,
actually
I'm on the right track because everybody's telling me to do all of these things. And I don't want to be a shiny object syndrome. I want to resonate with people. I want people to finish my courses. I want them to get the value, right? And
well,
that's
yeah.
the
At the end of
value versus
the
novelty, right?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I mean, everybody wants to make a living, so don't take this wrong. But at the end of the day, do you want to like get your reward from your bank account, or do you want to get your reward from all the people you helped? I think that's an important question for people to ask. I think you can do both,
Yeah,
but
both. Hmm.
you shouldn't trade your soul for. I saw a marketer the other day. He was bragging about how much money was in his account, which is good, but I didn't quite understand what the whole point was. It's like, well, how about you brag about the people's lives you've changed, because that's going to correlate to your bank account eventually.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes some of us newbies will jump to that end result maybe a little quicker. I think there are some people that talk like that I respect, because they will never put out something that's not quality either. But there are some other people that just, okay, well, we got to get off this because we went too long. But the person you're telling me about that rented a house and everything and did videos there acting like it was their home, and it
Hmm.
was not. They just rented it for a day to show everybody the wealth that they had, and it wasn't real. When you're going down that aisle, that alley, that path, for a fact, because you know it's wrong. And I think that, yeah. So anyways, let's call it a
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. To finalize, be the missionary, not the
I like
mercenary.
that
It'll
story a
take you
lot.
more it'll take you more time, but you'll be authentic, you'll be in alignment, you'll be guided, you'll be taking the necessary steps. You will be able to differentiate between a shiny object or,
Yeah.
I do take note of all the shiny objects that I see. And I'm like, oh, here's five things that sound really interesting to me. And then I look them up or I just wait it out. And if it's something that is really going to help me, then I make sure that it is an educated, aligned, resonant decision. It feels good to me, and I'm going to, after I've studied how much work is involved and if it's going to work for my life, I choose to do it. If
And on
not,
a
it goes
personal
on the
note,
back burner.
and
Yeah,
on a
it goes on.
personal note, Laura will have sometimes 25 objects in her shopping cart at Amazon. She doesn't buy them all. This is what confuses me. I'm like, hit that buy button, girl, hit that buy button. She goes, I don't know if I want it yet. So I just put it in and then she sits on it and then she takes it out. I still haven't worked that out. Okay. I personally can't do that yet. If it's in my box, it's going to be bought. So we were joking about that the other day because she just figured she'd start using my cart because I just hit the buy button. But that's an indication of living in incongruency. Okay, something as simple as shopping on Amazon also correlates with your whole life, and that's another way to ask yourself about the shiny object. Is this in tune with me? Is this the same as everything else, or is this something different? So, okay, well, this was fun. I like this. I could talk about shiny objects for a long time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
let's do something different, new. Joke.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in, and Robert and I will see you next time. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.